Today we're going to learn how to graph parabolas and what they are. So lesson 84, identifying quadratic functions, and that's what another name is for them. We have functions. Think of the word f. So f of x just means function. F of x is also compared to y. They mean exactly the same thing. That means if you plug in something for x, you get y as a solution. Same thing with f of x. What is your solution for that equation? So f of x is equal to, and this is the formula we've been seeing a lot, especially when we've been factoring, and then, or it's equal to y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. First one, here, they want us to see if it's a quadratic function or not. The main thing, the key for it to be a quadratic function, it's x squared. It has to have an x squared in it. So let's go ahead and try to find it. Here, we can't figure out what this equation is. We have to get y by itself on one side. So let's go ahead and move this term over. So I'm going to move it over here. I can't add it to anything. There's no like terms there. I end up with y is equal to 4x squared. I'm going to put it in descending order. So then I'm going to put the negative 7x second and then minus 6. I end up with that equation. They're asking me, is it a quadratic equation or not? Yes, it is, because of the x squared there. Next one. Y equals 5 plus 2x. I always make sure my x is first. So it's on the same side, so we're not changing any signs there, so we're just flipping it. So 2x plus 5. Here, does it have an x squared? It does not, so no, it's not a quadratic function. C, we have this equation up here. So now we go ahead and solve for it. We want y by itself, so we're going to add 2x cubed to both sides. And we end up with y is equal to, I'll want you to put the x cubed first, minus, oh, there's like terms here. So plus 2x cubed, I didn't realize that was a cubed. We'll put it up there. And we end up with negative 3x cubed plus x squared. And we end up with that equation there. And it's asking us if it's a parabola or not. And it is not, because it's a cubed. We only need a squared. It needs to be an x squared. It does have an x squared, but it also has an x cubed, and the graph is determined by their highest exponent. So it's not one. Y equals x squared. So understanding what parabolas are, they need the x squared. They have to have the x squared. That has to be the highest power in the equation. This is considered a parent function. That means how a graph normally looks. So here, when you're graphing these type of parabolas, you always use 5 test values. Remember, with lines, we only use 3, a negative 0, and a positive 1. Here, same concept, but you need 5. So I need some negative numbers, I need 0, and I need some positive numbers. So here, if I were to put negative 2 in place of x, excuse me. If I were to put negative 2 in place of there, I'll have negative 2 squared. I end up with positive 4. If I put negative 1 in place of x here to solve for y, I end up with positive 1. 0 squared is 0. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. If I were to graph this, I have negative 2, 4, negative 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 4. You end up with a u. It's called a parabola. So it's a parabola. It's facing upward. It could be facing downward, left or right. But it's always going to look like a u. So anytime you see the x squared, always think it's going to look like a u at some point or another. Now example 2, we're going to have to graph this here. We have f of x is equal to negative 3x squared. So remember, f of x is also known as y is equal to negative 3x squared. But we have to start getting used to the functions. So here, what we're doing, we're placing each of these values in place of the x squared here. So here we have negative 2, we have negative 3 times negative 2 squared. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Now next one, negative 3 times x squared, we have a negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1, because over here, times 3 is negative 3. 0, 0 squared is 0, times negative 3 is still 0. 1 squared is 1. 1 times negative 3 gives you negative 3. And now 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 3, and you get a negative 12. If you see here, there should be some type of a reflection, some type of pattern. So they're both negative 3 and both negative 12. And we were to graph this, negative 2, negative 12, let me put it aside. I have here, negative 1, negative 3, right here, positive, or 0, 0, positive 1, negative 3, and 2, negative 12. And I end up with a parabola. It's still a U, and it goes downward. You need to make sure there's 5 test values. You won't be able to see it with just 3. Now we learn about directions of parabola. Why is it facing upward? Why is it facing downward? And it all depends on the number in front of the x squared. It has to be the x squared. Here, the number in front of the x squared, if it's less than 0, it's a negative number. That means your graph is facing downward. So in this example here, it's negative 3x squared. A is a number in front of the x squared. It's negative, so it's facing downward. If it's facing upward, that means the number is positive. So x squared, 3x squared, 7x squared. It's a number that's positive. Here, we need to determine whether it's facing upward or downward. So here, they don't have in terms of x, they have it in terms of n, which is fine. It just means the same thing. So 3n squared plus 8. A is considered the number in front of the n squared or the x squared, and that's considered 3. Now, we have the number. We have determined it's facing upward or downward. It's positive, so therefore it's facing upward. Next one, we have 3x minus x squared plus 5. Always make sure your numbers are in descending orders of your variables. So I have negative x squared plus 3x plus 5. It's on one side, so you're not changing any of the signs there. That's the most important part, unless you're moving it from the other side of the equal sign. Now you have negative x squared plus 3x plus 5. Identify your a. Your a is the number in front of x squared, and that is negative 1. So it's facing downward. And that's the type of graph it will create. We're not graphing these, we just want to determine which one it is. Last one, we have a word problem. We have an equation there. So they have a t squared. That means that it's a parabola. It's going to be a type of U, but we're not graphing it. Here it just says to determine the height of the pebble using the function. It says find the height of the pebble after falling for 2 seconds. So the height is what we're looking for. We're looking for what h is. Before we even look for what h is, it looks like here that h is even by itself. So let's go ahead and start moving things over. So 256 is positive. I'm going to go ahead and move it because I want it on the other side of the equation. 256. I have negative h is equal to 16 t squared minus 256. I have a negative h, so you can divide by negative 1. Let's do this. Divide each term by negative 1, or you can multiply. It means the same thing. So we have h is equal to 16t divided by negative 1 is negative 16t squared. And then negative 256 divided by negative 1 gives you positive 256. Here it says find the time after 2 seconds. So now we can go ahead and plug in t for 2. 256. So now we're going step by step. Negative 16, you always do exponents first. So times 4 plus 256. Negative 16 times 4 is negative 64. Plus 256, and just going to bring this all the way down. H is now equal to 192, and that's how much it gets after 2 seconds. So you're looking for what that H is. So make sure you're reading all your problems for your homework assignment. If you need any help, my email is down there. Have a good day.